What's up, everybody? Solomon here. Happy Tuesday. I hope you all are having a fantastic day. Today is going to be a monster of a video. We're going to talk IMF, directly mentioning Ripple again. We're going to talk the OECD. We're going to talk G7, some of the initiatives that are going to be happening this year. There's just a ton of information in this video. I hope you enjoy the content. If you see any scam ads on this video, don't participate. Don't send crypto anywhere expecting more back. That's a scam. Okay, so now we'll get into this, but Crypto Eddy actually put out a tweet yesterday or last night. I saw it first thing this morning about this, and the IMF basically. And if you don't know what the IMF is, it's the International Monetary Fund, basket of currencies, et cetera, et cetera. But her tweet led me into there was a document that was attached to it about virtual assets, et cetera. The IMF actually yesterday put out a ton of documents. And I stumbled upon this one, which is a technical note on supervision of financial market infrastructures, resilience of central counterparties, and innovative technologies. And this actually directly calls out Ripple multiple times in this document here. So we can see, as in other countries, new non-bank players are entering the payment space, offering innovative services to regulated financial institutions and to consumers and merchants. Now, I want you guys to pay attention to two things in this video, okay? And the one is the way that they phrase the stablecoin rhetoric around what Ripple was able to facilitate. So this is the first one, though, and this is only very few players aim to change established payment infrastructures, okay? And I want you to pay attention to this rulebook here. This is the RippleNet rulebook. For example, RippleNet provides the software and the rulebook for a transfer mechanism, whereas financial intermediaries function as nodes. Nodes is just basically another fancy word of saying a computer. You're operating a computer on the network. Function as nodes and may partake in the consensus mechanism. These players offer a payment infrastructure outside the traditional US payment system, et cetera, et cetera. Now we get into this here. RippleNet is designed as, and this is from the IMF, as a wholesale payment system without being subject to payment system specific requirements, other than the requirements posed by banks. There is, however, some limited scrutiny. For example, by FinCEN and the Federal Reserve. There is no dedicated regulatory regime for new types of digital services such as gateway services, APIs, NFC, access, or digital wallet services. Consequently, opinion letters or guidance by authorities to provide certainty on the interpretation of existing rules to these new types of services may be needed. Some authorities, etc., etc. Now, certain new services such as, and this is talking about RippleNet again, also network or network-based application service providers such as RippleNet are not subject to specific regulatory requirements and do not need a specific license. Certain new services, such as the offering of digital platforms/networks, for example, RippleNet, offer services that are very similar to the ones offered by traditional payment messaging systems, without being subject to activity-specific regulation and oversight. MoneyGram is using RippleNet to channel remittance payments. Digital products such as distributed ledger technology networks are also offered to be used as the technical platforms on which payment arrangement operates, with the provision of network services to financial institutions being based on non-negotiable rulebooks and conditions. We talked about the RippleNet rulebook, right? And there's obviously other rulebooks as well. Certain service offerings, such as Centra, provide ready-to-use platforms for the settlement of stablecoin transactions between multiple participants as a proxy for account-based money settlements, again, without being subject to system risk-specific requirements. So they're mentioning RippleNet not being subject to certain requirements directly in the same paragraph as stablecoin settlement mechanisms, which is very interesting to me. I'm curious to see how the rhetoric gets spread. Now, there's a lot about RippleNet in here, okay? Talks again, same thing here. And then they actually have a whole chart section here, Appendix 5, U.S. landscape, non-cash payment service providers. We can see real-time payments, the clearinghouse. We can see FedNow. We can see the Fed and the automated clearinghouse, which is, debit cards, all that stuff. Chips, CLS. So this is huge, people. Now, I did want to give a shout out to Crypto Eddy because I would not have looked into any of this if she wouldn't have posted this out yesterday. The document that she posted was virtual asset legislative and regulatory framework for virtual asset fund managers, traders, and service providers. And it is a big document. They put out like 7 or 8 documents yesterday. So I stumbled upon this one because I do targeted searches. I have to look through the one that Eddy shared as well. I shared that one to you all, and I'm going to look through that as well. All right. Now, remember the rule book, okay? This is a Bitstream document, but I think that it provides a little bit of insight as to what this rulebook actually is. Ripple's role consists in developing the rulebook consistently with the current needs of banking and their customers. The company has established a RippleNet advisory board, pay attention to that, whose aim is to ensure that the rulebook promotes transactions, operational consistency, and legal clarity. Although the board is responsible for setting and improving the rules and standards. So the board is responsible for setting and improving the rules and standards. It holds no control over the protocol, right? We all know that. A proposed change to the rulebook needs to meet a supermajority of votes from validators, a process similar to the verification of XRP transactions. Furthermore, by joining the RippleNet, an institution is not subject to a change in the bilateral agreements that it formerly had in place. It's not disrupting its former agreements that these institutions have with other institutions. Ripple simply provides the medium through which payments move and the rules that govern the process. Ripple does not interfere with the existing business ties or legal responsibilities of a financial institution. Thus, it's basically plug and play, right? Ripple software plugs into the existing payment ecosystem without displacing the current regulatory frameworks. For instance, existing payment network guidelines such as those established by the International Project Finance Association or IPFA can coexist with the Ripple rulebook and govern interbank payment activity. Tied into the system, people. Now, this is a little bit more about the advisory board here, okay? We just read about that. RippleNet advisory board, and keep in mind, this is from a couple years ago. There may be more advisory board members at this time. This is an MUFG Mitsubishi Financial Group presentation. I talked about this yesterday, but this is in the same vein as to what we just talked about. RippleNet advisory board consists of 7 institutions who are proactively promoting the network to improve payment and settlement efficiency of cross-border transactions. The advisory board acts as an advisory group to Ripple so that many institutions can smoothly implement their solution in the future. We can see non-Japanese advisory board members are Bank of America Merrill Lynch, Standard Chartered, Westpac, Santander, Royal Bank of Canada, Canada Imperial Bank of Commerce. Japanese advisory board members, Resona, Yokohama, Mizuho, Not Yuo, Sony, 7. You get it. You get the picture, right? So the banks are governing what Ripple is doing from a rulebook standpoint. It's very clear. There needs to be a supermajority vote between validators, network validators, and that's on the XRPL. And it's extremely crazy that even the IMF today would put out a document like that, basically saying that the regulatory framework's already in place for RippleNet. Now, we obviously still have questions about the regulatory framework that surrounds XRP, but what do you think happens when the regulatory framework is clarified for XRP and RippleNet is already ingrained into all of these financial institutions' ecosystems? I'm curious. I don't know. We will see. All right, now, we already saw Standard Chartered as an advisory member, right? Now, Standard Chartered today partnered with Microsoft to become a cloud-first bank. We see this rhetoric across the board here. It's all in the cloud now, right? This is through Microsoft Azure. We also know that Ripple is on Azure, but we also know that Standard Chartered has many initiatives in the distributed ledger space. Ripple is one of them, obviously. And Ripple is also tied into Standard Chartered's Access, that is AXESS platform. Standard Chartered provides integration into RippleNet on that platform, along with members like Alipay, et cetera, et cetera. Not saying Alipay is going to use XRP, just saying Standard Chartered provides access to RippleNet. NetSense rolls out new cryptocurrency Visa credit card in the US and Canada. We obviously always see the Visa ties. This was I think I might have seen this before, but maybe this is just rehash through this news site. Maybe this is newer, but we do know NetSense adds Ripple's XRP. I don't know if it's Ripple's XRP, but it's XRP to the gateway. This is NetSense. They accept Bitcoin, Ethereum, Litecoin, Bitcoin Cash, XRP. What is that? Verge. I think that's EOS, and I don't know what that is. All right. Now, I did want to get into this a little bit for you all, just to, I tried to be as minimal as I possibly can be from a hype standpoint, but this just paints a picture. This is from Accenture. Accenture is a Ripple integrator, okay? U.S. banks need to prepare for massive credit write-offs. U.S. banks will face up to $320 million in credit write-offs this year due to the pandemic. The economy is running on borrowed time and money as government stimulus props up shell-shocked businesses and the accounts of tens of millions of jobless Americans. Country's gross domestic product shrank by 32.9%, 33 freaking percent in the second quarter alone. And the unemployment rate currently sits at 10.2%. 150,000 Americans have died from COVID. Okay. Now, as the government starts to lessen public stimulus and nudge people to private-led debt, a large burden will fall on the banking system. And I just want to provide this for scope, people, okay? We know how much that the Fed's been propping up the market here, and to me, it's just completely unsustainable. If I talk to people at my work or anywhere else, they just see, things are turning around, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, yeah, dude, but you don't realize, like, they're propping this market up. Do you realize what they did during the housing crisis compared to what they're doing now? They're just pumping and they're printing and they're pumping and they're printing and they're acquiring. So it's very scary to me. We can see obviously the Dow is not at all-time high, which was back February 21st, February 22nd time frame. We saw the crash from COVID and everything else. And I don't even believe the crash was from COVID, but that's another discussion. But we can see NASDAQ is basically right at all-time high, okay? And you look at something like crypto and you look at a propped up market, and then you look at a market that's being held down and manipulated, similar to what you're seeing now with gold and similar to what you're seeing now with silver. Well, hopefully more so with silver soon. But market cap of the entire crypto space is like $345 billion. It hit 800 and some change back in the very beginning of January 2018. This is nothing, people, though. I don't know. I don't put my money in traditional markets at this point right now, unless it has to deal with precious metals. I'm too worried about what could possibly happen in the very near term. But it's risky all over the place. I'm not telling you to hedge all into one thing or to go all into digital assets or anything like that. I would never say that, but just do research, see what's going on across the board, and try to make your own moves. I mean, because that's all that we really have is our own research at the end of the day. Now, this was very interesting. I saw today, too, the G7 summit, the group of seven, will likely take place after the election in November. Now, we'll get into what the group of seven is here in a second, the group of 20, because many people don't know what those are. Hold on, where did I lose my place here? All right, now this is the 45th G7 summit. And just to give you a little bit of insight here, I did want to bring this up because the group of seven committed to reaching an agreement in 2020 to simplify regulatory barriers and modernize international taxation within the framework of the OECD. Now, the OECD is the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, 37 member countries, okay? Now, I don't ever really cite CoinDesk here, but they did have a link to the actual article. This is the OECD to the G20. Crypto tax policies need global clarity. So I'm curious if this 2020 agenda, and we can see it actually down here. Yes, it does. Finally, the interim report identifies new areas of work. This is an OECD report. New areas of work that will be undertaken without delay, given the availability of big data, et cetera, et cetera. The Forum on Tax Administration, working within the inclusive framework, will develop practical tools and cooperation in the area of tax administration. Will also examine the tax consequences of new technologies, for example, cryptocurrencies and blockchain/distributed ledger technology. An update on this work provided in 2019. Inclusive framework works towards a consensus-based solution by 2020. Now, This was an OECD report from 2014. I always like the older articles because I think that they lead us to some of the news and some of the information that we're seeing today, okay? Whether or not the Ripple protocol is the ultimate winner remains to be seen. But policymakers should welcome the exploration of the use of new technology to improve efficiency and provide competition to high-cost incumbent intermediaries in the financial system. Policymakers do need to focus on how to ensure that the new technologies operate in the most socially useful way. That is, it should be possible to make use of a new technology to facilitate the medium of exchange, transporter, and ledger functions and increase competition in financial services, while eliminating the anonymity problems in the above description. In the above description of Ripple, for example, the nodes are clearly money transmitters, and so full registration should be required for all nodes. Such a system, pay attention to this, this is interesting. Such a system can have members that use their own unit of account and store of wealth, such as gold, for example. It is not difficult to imagine an entire network using the technology of trustless transfer, which they talk about RippleNet and XRP, amongst all sorts of assets based on an exchange rate with gold. I'm going to read that again. It is not difficult to imagine an entire network using the technology of trustless transfer amongst all sorts of assets based on an exchange rate with gold. I'm not saying that they're going to peg a digital asset directly with gold, but they're directly talking about Ripple. They're directly talking about XRP and this entire document here. So you do the math. It doesn't matter to me. I personally don't think they're going to peg XRP to gold. I would be extremely surprised if they did something like that. But am I saying it's impossible? No, because they've been talking about doing something like this. Or some other commodity price in real time, or a fiat currency like the dollar. Banks, payment systems companies, fund managers, insurance companies, etc., transacting directly between members without requiring trusted third-party intermediaries. The technology is not a currency, and even if networks do use gold, bitcoins, XRP colored coins, and the like, this could not interfere with monetary policy and would help to provide much needed competition for credit cards and other payment system functions. Again, today, now we see this innovation hub through Bank for International Settlements. This is just Saudi G20 presidency and the innovation hub update on the progress made. There's not a whole lot in here. It's just about the submissions and everything else, but still interesting. It's a tech sprint initiative, apparently. Now, G7, the difference between G7, G8, and G20, because I do like to keep things a little bit clearer on this channel, because I didn't know about any of this 2 or 3 years ago, and I'm still learning every single day. So you've probably heard of the G7 Summit. It's an annual meeting of world leaders where they discuss global issues and pose for an obligatory photo op. But what about the G8 and the G20? Here's the differences. So G7 is the group of 7. It mainly has to do with politics. Okay, members are Canada, France, Germany, Italy, Japan, the UK, and the United States. Okay. Now, European Council and European Commission also represent the European Union at G7 summits. Now, Russia joined in 1998, making it the G8. Kicked out in 2014. Now we're back to the G7, but we have heard that Trump wants Russia back in the talks. I'm curious to see what happens with that. Now, G20 is all about money, and it has 20 members, the group of 20. Its members represent 85% of global economic output, and it's a little less exclusive than the G7. Members are Argentina, Australia, Brazil, Canada, China, Germany, France, India, Indonesia, Italy, Japan, Mexico, Russia, Saudi Arabia, South Africa, South Korea, Turkey, UK, United States, and the EU. So BRICS, I believe, is all their members are within the G20. So I just wanted to bring that up. I don't know, maybe you guys knew what that was, but some of you may have not, and I hope that was helpful. We already went over the OECD. Now, this was very interesting I found today, too. I'm going to try to make this video not too long. I got information to get through, though, because I found a lot today. So this is following the OCC letter, which would now allow banks to custody cryptocurrency. Some U.S. banks appear open to providing crypto services. Again, CoinDesk, but if you go to the actual website, these are all the comments, okay? There is a ton. Ripple commented on here. Consensus commented in here. You'll have time to read through these. I didn't want to present it because it would have shown my whatever. But Digital Currency Group, BitGo, Visa is in here. R3 is in here. So PNC, which we know is a Ripple member, is in here. It's all across the board here. I know that PNC directly talks about digital assets, I believe. We know Cross River Bank is an old school Ripple partner. So Coinbase. So interesting to read through some of those. I read through R3 and there was some information that I don't know if many of us know or not. So, okay. This was super cool too. This is a government document, came out, I believe, just last night. This is teaching public diplomacy and the information instruments of power in a complex media environment. Now, this is about like defense warfare and stuff too regarding blockchain, which is crazy. So this talks about emerging technologies, okay? In the past, many of these technologies were developed inside the broader defense industrial base and then spun out to the commercial markets, like the internet, right? The internet's been around since like the 60s, right? To improve the technology more broadly, commercialize it, and reduce the cost. Today, however, many of these technologies, such as blockchain, cloud services, artificial intelligence, extended reality, quantum computing, and 5G infrastructure are being developed and fielded by the private industry, and many of the advances are being executed with limited Department of Defense involvement or awareness. However, it remains vital that the Department of Defense transition innovative emerging technologies from commercial industry to DoD weapon systems and programs do so quickly, safely, and effectively. That's crazy. Listen to what they're saying. National Science and Technology Council, I believe they've actually done some work with blockchain as well. Now I'm just going to get into some generic news here for the most part. Facebook goes all in on fintech with the launch of a new product group, so great. I'm not a big fan of Facebook, but whatever. Now this is stellar news, okay? This is True Money partners with Thunes to expand global remittance services. We can see here that Thunes is a stellar collaborator. Western Union partnered with Thunes as well. Now, Simba payment app launches using Stellar's network as well. Smart contract as a service, or SCAAS. So that's good news for Stellar. As long as Jed can still dump on us in the XRP community, I guess we're all right. But who cares? I think that all initiatives are great right now in this space. Now, this was big today. This is BitPay expands integration with Coinbase to enable instant no-fee blockchain payments. And it wraps it up pretty good here. Coinbase now allows Bitcoin, Ethereum, XRP holders to pay for goods directly from their accounts, which is really cool. I don't pay for anything with crypto. I hold crypto. But eventually, when there's enough liquidity and it's more stable and we're not here just to make the money and we're actually utilizing it, I 100% will pay with crypto at some point in my life. Now, this is merchants that BitPay supports include Microsoft, Twitch. I don't know if I'd ever pay money for the Dallas Mavericks, but whatever. Now, this is Hedera Hashgraph, which was cool. I saw this. This was like 3 days ago. Hedera Network Services have officially entered open source under an Apache 2.0 license. So everyone can now access the GitHub repository of OSS Hedera Network. Code will be marked with versions, tags for which software versions it's running. I do believe that the Hedera Network Service code is open source, but the Hashgraph code base is not yet. That's supposed to be open for review during the fourth quarter of 2020. Also, there's a webinar on Hyperledger that has to deal with a public decentralized ordering service for Hyperledger Fabric using Hedera Hashgraph. That's August 19th and September 2nd. So I will probably check that out. I'm a fan of Hedera. So not telling you to invest into Hedera Hashgraph, HBAR, or whatever. It's just, I like to keep up on the news and present it for people that want to see it. We did a video on this about a week ago. This is Tel Aviv Stock Exchange. They do talk about their central lending pool, central blockchain securities lending pool. To the date of the report, a successful test run was completed, and now the intention to launch the services in November 2020. I did a video on this before too. This is the floor. Their partners interested me, Royal Bank of Scotland, Santander, which we know is RippleNet, Sumitomo Mitsui, which we know has ties with SBI, HSBC, and Tesla San Paulo, which we know trowed XRP, but is also a member of GPI. So last but not least, Unstoppable Domains is doing a giveaway. If you want to check out Unstoppable Domains, fantastic. They're integrated with Coinbase. I will post the link down in the description of this video to check them out. If you don't, great as well. But they're giving away hodl.crypto, the domain name. Also $7,000 in Ethereum and DAI. So pretty easy, pretty self-explanatory. If you want to check it out, great. If you don't, great. And as always, if you want to support me on Patreon, fantastic. If you want to like and subscribe, fantastic to this YouTube video as well. It allows me to continue presenting these videos and doing the research that I do, and I really appreciate your guys' support regardless if you do any of what I just mentioned. So hope you guys have a great evening. Hope you guys liked this video. I thought the IMF news was huge, so take it easy, and if there's news tomorrow, I will present tomorrow. Later.